Hey folks, let me tell you a story that still gives me chills when I remember it. It's about how a simple rideshare driver, that's me, Mike, ended up being the best man at a wedding for a couple I met in the backseat of my Honda Civic. Sounds like BS? I swear on my mother's grave it's all true. It was a Friday in March back in 2019. I was driving around the Midtown area, that fancy part of Manhattan where all the suits work, you know? Traffic was hell, as always, and I'd already done about 4 rides since lunch. I was thinking about calling it a day because my wife Linda had made this amazing meatloaf that was calling my name. Then a notification popped up on the app. Ride auto accepted. I usually keep it on auto because otherwise I waste too much time choosing. The pickup was on one of those upscale streets in Midtown, you know? The kind with more banks than deli. I pulled up and immediately spotted a guy on the sidewalk, frantically tapping his phone. Young guy, maybe? 28. Clean haircut, business casual but no tie. One of those looks young executives wear to seem laid back. But the kid was more nervous than a politician at a hearing. "Are you Mike?" he asked, approaching the window. "That's me. You Gabriel?" I replied, checking the name on the app. "Oh man, thank God you got here fast," he said, sliding into the back seat. "I need to get to Central Park in 20 minutes. Is that possible?" I looked at the traffic, which was backed up like a funeral procession, and thought, this guy's dreaming. But I didn't have the heart to crush the kid's hopes. "I'll do my best, Chief, but tell me, is this some kind of emergency?" And that's when it all started. Gabriel settled in the seat and let out this huge sigh. "Dude, I'm meeting this girl today. We connected on a dating app 2 weeks ago. We've been texting every day, but this is going to be our first time meeting in person." "Ah, got it," I said, getting into the vibe. "First time seeing each other face to face?" "Exactly. And I'm nervous as hell, man. I don't even know what to say, you know? This girl is gorgeous, smart, works at a Fortune 500 company, and here I am, just some financial analyst." Man, I felt for the kid. Reminded me of when I met my Linda about 20 years ago. I was just as green on our first date. I decided to throw the guy a bone. "Listen, Gabriel, let me give you some advice from someone who's been around the block," I said, merging onto 6th Avenue. "Women don't want a perfect guy. They want a real guy. You got this far being yourself, right? So keep being yourself." "You think so?" he asked, uncertainty in his voice. "I'm sure of it, buddy. And another thing, let her talk. Women love it when we actually listen to what they're saying. Ask about her dreams, her family, show genuine interest." I took Madison Avenue, which was flowing better, and kept giving advice. Gabriel started relaxing as we talked. He told me he was 28, had a degree in economics, lived alone in a studio in the East Village, and dreamed of starting his own financial consulting firm. "What about her? What's she like?" I asked, just curious. "Marina," he said, and you could tell the name came out of his mouth like a prayer. "She's 26, has a marketing degree, works for a cosmetics company, lives with her parents on the Upper East Side." "Upper East Side, huh?" I said, and immediately thought, "Ooh, rich girl?" But I didn't say anything. Everyone's got their own life, right? When we got to the 72nd Street entrance to Central Park, Gabriel was much calmer. He even practiced how he was going to greet the girl. "Mike, man, thanks so much for the advice," he said, getting out of the car. "If this goes well, I'm calling you again." "It will go well, trust me. And if you need a ride, I'm always cruising around here." He waved and walked toward the park. I stayed there for a bit, just watching because, you know, curiosity. I saw when he met up with this gorgeous brunette in a floral dress, curly hair. The girl smiled when she saw him, and they greeted each other kind of awkwardly, but you could see there was chemistry. This is gonna work out, I thought to myself, and drove off. It wasn't even 2 hours before Gabriel called me again, this time to pick up both of them from the same spot. When I arrived, they were chatting animatedly, sitting on a bench near the pond. Both of them looked like they'd had a blast. "So, how'd it go?" I asked when they got in the car. "Perfect," Gabriel said, grinning ear to ear. "Marina, this is Mike, the driver I told you about. He gave me some valuable advice today." Marina laughed, one of those warm laughs that lights up the whole space. "Ah, so you're the one who calmed this anxious guy's nerves? Nice to meet you, Mike. He was telling me you're like a traffic therapist." "Come on," I replied, already liking this girl. "I just gave some basic tips on how not to make a fool of yourself on a first date." During the ride to the Union Square subway station, where she was catching the 4 train back home, the two didn't stop talking. Movies, music, places they wanted to visit. It was nice to listen to, you know. Reminded me me of when Linda and I were dating. When we dropped Marina off at the station, she said goodbye with a kiss on the cheek and said, "Gabriel, I loved meeting you. Want to do this again soon?" "Absolutely," he replied, still kind of dazed. After she went into the station, Gabriel asked me to take him back to Midtown. "So, champ, did you win over the lady?" I teased. "Man, Marina is incredible. Smart, funny, classy, and you know what's the best part? She didn't look disgusted when I told her I live in a studio and take the subway. Why would she? You're a hardworking, honest guy. That's worth more than any fancy car." "Yeah, right? You two think alike." She said the same thing. When we got to his destination, Gabriel paid me and said something I'll never forget. "Mike, man, thank you so much. You were crucial today. If things work out with Marina, and I'm sure they will, you're going to be our official driver, deal?" I laughed and replied, "Deal, buddy. Good luck with the princess." He waved and went into the building. I sat there thinking, what a nice couple, my God. I never imagined this would be the first of many, many rides I'd give them, and much less that one day I'd be wearing a tux in a church, being someone's best man. But that's a story to continue. Folks, you have no idea what was waiting for me after that first encounter. Gabriel wasn't kidding when he said I'd be the couple's official driver. Starting the following week, every Friday or Saturday, my phone would ring. "Mike, what's up? You available today?" And off I'd go to pick up Gabriel at the same corner in Midtown, always punctual, always dressed up, always with that sweet anxiety of someone about to see the person they love. In the first few months, the routine was simple. I'd pick him up, we'd go get Marina at the Union Square subway or at her place on the Upper East Side, depending on the day, and then I'd take them to their dates. Movies, restaurants, parks, malls, you know, the classic activities of a couple in love. But the funniest thing is that my Civic became like a mobile relationship counseling office. They told me everything, man. Everything. I knew about their fights, their makeups, their plans, their fears. It was better than a soap opera. I remember one Friday. In May, they'd been dating for about 2 months. Gabriel got in the car looking pretty down. "What's up, buddy? What's with that face?" I asked, already sensing there was drama. "Oh, Mike, Marina's been kind of weird with me this week. I don't know if I did something wrong." "Weird how?" "Short answers, you know. Takes forever to reply to texts. Not making those little jokes she always makes." I thought about it. I'd transported a lot of couples in my time, and I knew the sign. "Gabriel, did you guys fight about something specific?" "Not, at least not that I know of." "Oh, wait," he slapped his forehead. "Last week we were talking about the future, and I said I wanted to live abroad. You think that could be it?" "Could be, man. Women take those things seriously. If she's thinking about a serious relationship with you, and from what I can see she is, she probably got worried about this whole leaving the country thing. When we got to the meeting point with Marina, I already knew there was going to be a relationship talk in the back seat, and there was. Marina got in the car with a kind of dry hi, different from her usual warm way. Gabriel tried to make conversation about the movie they were going to see, but she was kind of in her own world. "Marina, babe, are you okay?" he asked as we left the FDR Drive heading to the mall. "I'm fine." "Why?" she replied, but without looking at him. "I don't know, you've been kind of distant this week." And then it started. You know how couple fights go, right? Starts slow and builds up. First it was hints, then direct shots, and before I knew it, they were in a full-blown argument. "Gabriel, you said you want to live abroad, but you never asked if I want to," she said, getting heated. "But babe, it was just a comment. Nothing's decided." "Oh, really? And when you do decide, will you consult me? Or will you just say, 'Hey, Mari, pack your bags, we're leaving'?" Man, there I was driving and listening to this, not knowing whether to stop the car or keep going. I chose to keep going and stay quiet. Not my fight, right? But the argument kept escalating, and when we got to the mall, the tension was unbearable. Marina got out, slamming the door, and Gabriel just sat there, not knowing what to do. "Go after her, kid," I said, "and grovel. Apologize. Explain that you didn't think before you spoke." "You think so?" "I'm sure of it. The girl isn't angry for no reason. She likes you, and got scared of losing you." He ran after Marina. I stayed there waiting, thinking about life. Marriage isn't easy. Linda and I have been through some of these too. About 20 minutes later, they both came back holding hands, looking sheepish like people who just made up. They got in the car and Gabriel asked, "Mike, can you take us to the ice cream place in the mall? We changed our minds about the movie." "Sure thing, buddy." During the ride, Marina leaned toward the front seat and said, "Mike, thank you for giving Gabriel advice. He told me you told him to come after me." "Don't mention it, Marina. I just said the obvious. You guys like each other, so you need to talk, right? Everyone fights. The important thing is knowing how to work it out, and that's how it went for months. I became their confidant, love counselor, sometimes even judge of of their arguments. They'd tell me their problems, I'd give my 2 cents, and in the end, everything always worked out. I remember once Marina was insecure because she saw Gabriel's ex commenting on his Instagram photo. Another time, it was Gabriel who got jealous of a coworker of her. There was always something, but nothing too serious. The funny thing is, they kept involving me in their lives in a very natural way. They knew my wife's name, asked how my kids were doing, invited me to a barbecue on Gabriel's fire escape when he had his birthday. They became real friends, One of the most memorable rides was in August, about 5 months after they met. Gabriel got in the car with a small box in his hand. "Mike, man, today's the day. I'm going to ask Marina to be my official girlfriend." "About time. You guys were practically married already." He laughed nervously. "Yeah, but you know how she is about doing things right. She wants to do things the traditional way." We went to pick up Marina, and during the ride to the fancy restaurant he'd chosen, I noticed she was also dressed up more than usual. New dress, salon hair, fresh manicure. The girl knew something was up. "Marina, you look beautiful today," I complimented. "Thank you, Mike. Gabriel said we had something special planned." They looked at each other through the rearview mirror, and I saw Gabriel clutch the little box in his pocket. At the restaurant, an Italian place in the village, I waited outside. They were there for about 2 hours. When they came out, Marina had a ring on her finger and they both looked like lovesick teenagers. "Did it work out, champ?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "It did. Now it's official. Marina is my girlfriend," he said, kissing her hand. "Congratulations, you two. May you be very happy." "Mike," Marina said, "you're part of our story. Thank you for taking such good care of us." Man, I almost got emotional right there. It was the first time customers had ever said something like that to me. For the rest of 2019, I kept taking the lovebirds on their dates. I watched their relationship grow, mature, become solid. They stopped fighting over silly things, started making plans together, introduced each other to their families. Marina even took Gabriel to her grandmother's birthday party on the Upper East Side. I remember because I picked him up there at the end of the party. He came out looking kind of shaken. "So, how was it with her family?" I asked. "Complicated, Mike. Her family is, how can I put this, very different from mine. Rich, right? Very. And they made it pretty clear that I'm not good enough for her." That gave me a knot in my stomach. I knew that sooner or later this class difference was going to cause problem. But anyway, they were happy, and I was happy for them. Until December 2019, everything went perfect. I was already part of their routine, and they were part of mine. Until 2020 came, and with it, the biggest crisis I'd ever seen a couple go through. Folks, if someone had told me at the end of 2019 that 2020 was going to turn the world upside down, I would have laughed. But that's exactly what happened, and not just because of the pandemic that hit in March. Gabriel and Marina's crisis started way before that. It was a Friday in January 2020, one of those scorching hot days that only New York knows how to deliver. I was there at the usual spot waiting for Gabriel when he showed up. But this time, it wasn't that cheerful guy I knew. Grim face, wrinkled clothes, dark circles like he hadn't slept in days. "Gabriel, what's up, man? What's with that face?" I asked, already sensing there was trouble. He got in the car and stayed quiet for a long time. When we left Midtown heading to the meeting point with Marina, he finally spoke up. "Mike, I think we're screwed, man." "What do you mean, screwed? Did you guys fight?" "Worse than that." He rubbed his face, exhausted. "Marina's family is pressuring her to break up with me." Man, my heart sank. I already knew her family was kind of snobbish, but I didn't imagine they'd go this far. "Pressure how, Gabriel?" "Last week there was a New Year's party at their place. Fancy thing, catering, waiters, all the Upper East Side elite there. Marina took me and I tried to fit in, chat with people. And, man, it was embarrassing. Her dad introduced me to people as Marina's little boyfriend, with that tone. And her mom spent the whole party talking about some guy, son of some businessman, who would be perfect for Marina. I was pissed, dude. Class warfare stuff really gets to me. And Marina, how did she react? At the party, she defended us, of course, but afterwards at home, she got all thoughtful, And since then, she's been kind of weird with me. When we got to the meeting point, Marina was already there waiting, but you could see on her face that she wasn't doing well either. She got in the car with a forced hi and just stared at her phone. "So, babe, how was your day?" Gabriel tried to make conversation. "It was fine, normal," she replied without taking her eyes off the phone. The mood was heavy, man. Even I didn't know what to say. We went to the mall in deathly silence. When we got there, Marina got out quickly. "Gabriel, I need to talk to you. Want to grab coffee?" They left and I stayed there worried. It had the look of a serious conversation, one of those that either fixes everything or ends everything. 2 hours later, 2 very long hours, Gabriel came back alone. phone. And his face, man, I'd never seen a man so destroyed. "Mike," he said, getting in the car. "It's over." "What do you mean, over? You guys broke up?" He didn't answer right away. He sat there, head down, trying to hold back tears. When he finally spoke, his voice was choked. "Marina said she needs time, that her family is pressuring her too much, that she needs to think about her future, her career. But did she say she doesn't love you anymore?" "No, she cried a lot, said she loves me, but that the situation is too complicated, that maybe it's better for us to step back for a while." Man, I drove to Gabriel's place in silence. What was I going to say, right? There's no comfort for a situation like that. When we got to the East Village, he didn't get out right away. He just sat there, looking out the window. "Mike, man, thanks for everything. I guess I won't be needing your services for a while." "Gabriel, dude, this is just temporary. You guys love each other. This will pass." He shook his head. "I don't know, man. I don't know if it's worth fighting against her whole family. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm really not the right guy for her." He got out of the car and walked away, head down. I stayed there for a few minutes, thinking about the situation. What a mess. Beautiful couple who really loved each other, being separated because of class prejudice. I thought I wouldn't see them again, that my part in their story had ended there, but I was dead wrong. 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Gabriel. "Mike, can you pick me up? I need a ride." "Sure, man. Where are you?" "Same place as always." I went to get him, and when I saw the state of the guy, I was scared. Skinny, unshaven, sloppy clothes. He was clearly suffering. "Gabriel, man, are you okay?" "No, Mike. I'm not okay at all. I'm a mess." During the ride, he was going to a grocery store on the Upper East Side, go figure. He told me how things were, that he couldn't concentrate at work, wasn't sleeping right, wasn't eating. "What? About Marina? Have you guys talked these past 3 weeks?" "A few times on WhatsApp. Basic stuff, you know. How are you? Everything okay? But nothing about getting back together. And you didn't try?" "Man, I respect her decision. If she thinks it's better this way." "Gabriel," I stopped the car at a gas station and turned around. "Sorry to say this, but you're being a complete coward." He was surprised. "What do you mean?" "Dude, you love this girl, she loves you, and you're going to give up because of a bunch of snobs? What kind of story is that?" "It's not that simple, Mike." "Yes, it is. Look, let me tell you something. When I met Linda 20 years ago, her family didn't like me either. I was a bus driver. She was a teacher. Her dad thought she deserved better. And what did you guys do? We fought, man. We showed them that love doesn't have social class. Today, my father-in-law calls me son, and we have 2 beautiful kids." Gabriel got thoughtful. I continued. "Gabriel, if you give up now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And Marina will regret it too. You guys are happy together. That's what matters. But how? Her family will never accept me. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But it's not her family's decision. It's hers. And from what I know about Marina, she's not the type to let others decide her life." We stayed there talking for over an hour. Gradually, I saw Gabriel get some of that spark back in his eyes. "You know what, Mike? You're right. I'm going to call her." "No, Gabriel. You're going to do better than that." "What do you mean?" I smiled and started the car. "You're going to her house, and you're going to tell her to her face that you love her and want to fight for your relationship." "Mike, I can't just show up at her house like that, out of nowhere." "Yes, you can, and you will. Trust me." And that's how Operation Reconquer Marina began. I had no idea this would turn me into a rideshare Cupid, but sometimes life puts us in roles we never imagined, right? From then on, I wasn't just their driver anymore. I was part of the team, and I wasn't going to give up until I saw them happy again. So folks, continuing our story. After that conversation at the gas station, Gabriel spent a couple of days kind of thinking, thoughtful, planning how he was going to approach Marina. I was starting to think he'd given up on the idea when on a Thursday night my phone rang. "Mike, man, can you pick me up tomorrow morning? I have a crazy idea." "Now we're talking. What time?" "Around 7 in the morning. I'm going to intercept Marina at the subway exit before she gets to work." Man, I got excited. Finally, the kid was going to take action. I got to Midtown early Friday morning, and Gabriel was already waiting for me. This time he'd cleaned up. Fresh haircut, shaved, pressed dress shirt. He looked like he'd slept properly for the first time in weeks. "So, champ, ready to win back your princess?" "Nervous as hell, Mike, but determined. You were right. If I don't fight for her, I'll regret it for the rest of my life." We went straight to Union Square Station. Marina always caught the 8:15 train. I knew because I'd picked her up there 1,000 times. The plan was simple. Gabriel would show up at the subway exit, asked to talk to her, and declare that he wanted to fight for their relationship. We got there around 8 o'clock. I parked in a spot nearby, and Gabriel got out to wait for her. We stayed there for about 20 minutes. Me in the car, him on the sidewalk, both of us anxious as criminals waiting for sentencing. Then we saw her coming out of the station. My God, Marina was beautiful as always, but you could see on her face that she wasn't doing well either. Skinny, kind of pale, with that look of someone who wasn't sleeping right. Gabriel approached her, and I saw when she stopped, surprised. They talked there for about 5 minutes, but from their body language, I could already tell things weren't going well. She shook her head several times. He gestured a lot, and in the end, she walked away quickly toward the building where she worked. Gabriel came back to the car with a face that was better not to ask about. "So?" I asked, even though I knew it had gone badly. "Man," he sighed, running his hand through his hair. "She said she loves me, but the situation is even more complicated." "Complicated how?" "Her family is pressuring her to date the son of a businessman friend of her father's. Some guy named Rick, heir to some company." "Shit, Gabriel, that's tough. And there's more. Marina said if she doesn't cooperate, her dad will cut off her allowance and she'll have to leave the company where she works." Man, I was furious. What a shitty family, using emotional and financial blackmail to control their adult daughter's life. "Gabriel, this is absurd. Marina has to choose. Either she stands with her family or with love." That's what I told her, Mike, but she's scared. She said she needs to think, that the situation is too difficult. I was thinking there, driving back to Midtown. This story couldn't end like this. It was too unfair. A couple who loved each other being separated because of family interest and class prejudice. "Gabriel, listen here," I said, stopping the car near his building. "I'm going to tell you something my grandmother always said. Those who fight can lose, but those who don't fight have already lost. If you give up now, you've definitely lost. If you keep fighting, at least you have a chance." "But how, man? Her family has money, influence. I'm just a financial analyst who lives in a studio." "So what? You have something money can't buy. You truly love her. This Rick guy, for sure, only wants her for convenience." "Yeah, but that won't solve the problem." "Gabriel, let me propose something crazy. What if we found out more about this family, about this marriage they're trying to push on?" "Marina?" He looked at me curiously. "What do you mean?" "Man, I know New York like the back of my hand. I know people from every social class, from every corner of the city. If these people are elite, they definitely use private drivers, right?" "I think so." "So, what if I managed to be their family's driver for a few days, to better understand the situation, find out how this arranged marriage scheme works?" Gabriel stared at me like I'd lost my mind. "Mike, are you serious?" "Completely serious. Look, I've driven for a lot of rich people in my life. I know how to talk to these people, how to behave, and drivers are like furniture to rich people. They talk about everything in front of us like we're invisible. Man, but how would you manage that?" That's when I told Gabriel something not many people know. I have a cousin, Rob, who works for a private driver company. Fancy company that only serves New York's elite. I'd even worked for them a few times on weekends when I needed extra cash. "Gabriel, I'm going to call my cousin. I'll say I'm interested in working as a private driver, and I'll try to get a job specifically with Marina's family." "Dude, that's too risky. What if they find out who you are?" "Man, they've never seen me. And even if Marina recognizes me, she won't turn me in. I'm sure of it." Gabriel was thoughtful for a few minutes. I could see he was torn between hope and fear. "Mike, if you do this for me, man, I'll never be able to repay you. Listen, Gabriel, cut it out. You two are my friends, and friends help friends, right?" That same afternoon, I called Rob. I explained that I wanted some extra work as a private driver and asked if he had anything. "Hey, cousin, what a coincidence. I just have a family here that needs a driver. Their regular driver is on vacation for 2 weeks." "What family?" "The Blackwells. People from the Upper East Side. Lots of money. The guy owns some import companies." Man, when he said Blackwell, my heart raced. It was Marina's last name. What a coincidence. "Rob, man, I'll take it. When can I start?" "Monday. But listen, Mike, they're very demanding people. You have to be punctual, polite, discreet, and the car has to always be spotless." "You got it, cousin. I'll nail it." Over the weekend, I prepared everything. Washed the car until it shined, bought a simple but elegant suit, practiced how I was going to behave. Gabriel was anxious like a kid on Christmas Eve. "Man, are you sure you want to do this?" he asked on Sunday when we met for a beer. "I'm sure, Gabriel. Let's find out what this family is plotting, and then we'll come up with a plan to win Marina back." Monday, 7 in the morning, I was at the Blackwell Mansion's gate on the Upper East Side. Man, what a house. Looked like something from a movie. Electronic gate, huge garden, pool, money that never ends. I rang the intercom and introduced myself. "Good morning. I'm Mike, driver from Elite Executive. I'm here to replace your driver." A woman's voice answered answered, "Oh yes, we were already expecting you. You can come in. I'll be right down." I entered the property's courtyard, and a few minutes later down came an elegant lady, about 50-something, all dressed up even though it was 7 in the morning. "Are you Mike? I'm Helen, the lady of the house, Marina's mother." I greeted her politely, introduced myself, and she explained the routine. "Look, Mike, our routine is quite simple. In the morning you take my daughter Marina to work in Midtown. In the afternoon you pick her up and bring her back. Weekends might have some social commitments." "Perfect, Mrs. Helen. What time should I pick up Miss Marina?" 8 o'clock. She works at a multinational cosmetics company. Man, I was trying to keep my composure, but inside I was a nervous wreck. In a few minutes I was going to see Marina, and she would definitely recognize me. 8 o'clock sharp, Marina came out of the house. When she saw me in the car, she stopped immediately, surprised. I got out and opened the door for her, very formal. "Good morning, Miss Marina. I'm Mike. I'll be your family's driver for the next 2 weeks." She looked me right in the eyes, and I saw that she had recognized me, but she was smart. She didn't say anything in front of her mother, who was at the door. "Good morning," she replied, getting in the car. "Can you take me to Midtown, please?" During the trip, we stayed silent. Only when we left her street did she speak. "Mike, what are you doing here?" "Marina, I can explain, but first promise me you won't turn me into your parents." She sighed. "This has to do with Gabriel, right?" "It does. He's suffering a lot, Marina, and I came here to better understand the situation, to see if there's a way to help you guys." "Mike, the situation is very complicated. My parents are pressuring me to date Rick, my father's business partner's son, and if you don't accept, what? They'll cut me off financially. I'll lose my job because my father has influence at the company where I work. I'll have to leave home." "Marina, that's blackmail." "I know, Mike, but you don't understand what my family is like. They're very traditional, very concerned with social status." We got to the building where she worked, and before she got out, I said, "Marina, just give me a few days. I'll stay as your family's driver. I'll try to better understand the situation. Maybe we can find a solution." She looked at me with those beautiful eyes of hers full of sadness. "Mike, I love Gabriel, but I'm afraid of losing everything." "Marina, true love is worth more than anything. Trust me, okay?" She got out of the car without answering, but I saw that she was thoughtful. In the following days, I became practically a spy inside the Blackwell house, and man, the things I discovered. First, this Rick guy was a complete asshole. Spoiled rich kid, arrogant, who treated everyone badly. I drove him a few times, and the guy barely looked at me. Second, the marriage was really a business deal. Marina's father had companies in financial crisis and needed money from Rick's family to avoid bankruptcy. Third, Marina was suffering a lot. I saw her crying in secret, always sad, no appetite. Fourth, her parents had scheduled the engagement for the end of the following week. It was a race against time. Every night I called Gabriel and passed on the information. The poor guy was desperate. "Mike, man, they're going to force her to get engaged. We have to do something." "Calm down, Gabriel. I'm working on a plan, but it's going to require courage, you know?" "What kind of courage?" "You're going to have to kidnap Marina." "What? Mike, have you lost your mind?" "Calm down, man. It's not a real kidnapping. It's a romantic kidnapping. I'm going to create a situation to get her out of the house, and you two will be able to talk calmly, away from family pressure." Gabriel was silent on the other end of the line. I continued, "Gabriel, I found out something important. Marina goes to a flower shop every Friday, always at the same time, to buy flowers for the house arrangements. It's the only time of the week she goes out alone, without her parents knowing exactly where she is. So next Friday, you're going to be waiting for her there. I'll make up some excuse for her parents, say the car broke down or something, and you two will have a few hours to talk and resolve this situation once and for all." Man, what if it goes wrong? What if she doesn't want to come with me? "Gabriel, you have to trust in the love you both feel, and I'm sure Marina wants to talk to you. She's just scared." "But Mike, this is very risky for you. If the family finds out you're my friend..." "Gabriel, man, leave it to me. I've thought of everything. I'll make up a good excuse and then I'll disappear. Rob will get them another driver." It was Thursday night when we had this conversation. Friday would be D-Day. Operation Romantic Kidnapping was about to begin. Man, I barely slept that night. Kept thinking if I was doing the right thing, if the plan would work, if I wasn't getting myself into a huge mess. But you know what? When you see two people who love each other being separated by prejudice and financial interest, you can't just stand by. I had to help Gabrielle and Marina. I had to give them a chance to fight for their love. And Friday came, the day that would change everything in the lives of all three of us. Gabriel's, Marina's, and mine too. The plan was set. Now we just had to wait to see if it would work. Friday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Marina got in the car, as always, polite but distant. She had no idea what was coming. "Mike, can you take me to the flower shop on on Fifth Avenue. I need to buy flowers for the house arrangements. Of course, Miss Marina. During the trip, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw she was on her phone, distracted. My heart was beating like a school marching band drum. When we got to the flower shop, I stopped the car and said, Miss Marina, I'm going to drive around the block while you choose the flowers, okay? That's fine, Mike. I'll take about 20 minutes. She got out and went into the store. I called Gabriel. Gabriel, she's at the flower shop. Are you ready? I'm here across the street, man. Nervous as hell, but ready. Then go, champ. Your love life is in your hands. And that's how the riskiest part of our plan began. Gabriel crossed the street toward the flower shop. I stayed there, praying for everything to work out. And Marina, well, Marina was about to have the biggest surprise of her life. It was now or never, folks. The couple's fate was being decided at that moment in a flower shop on Fifth Avenue on a Friday afternoon in New York. And there I was, a simple rideshare driver, orchestrating it all. If someone had told me a year before that I was going to become a Cupid, I would have laughed. But sometimes life puts us in situations we never imagined, right? The important thing is that we do the right thing. And helping two people who love each other, man, that's always the right thing to do. Folks, if you think the previous chapters were intense, hold tight because now comes the part that still gives me chills when I remember it. The day that changed everything. The day a simple rideshare driver became the protagonist of one of the craziest stories that ever happened on the streets of New York. It was Saturday, August 15th, 2020. 8 in the morning and my phone was ringing like crazy. It was Gabriel, and from his voice I could tell something serious was going down. Mike, man, it's today. Today is Marina's wedding. I jumped out of bed like a spring. Linda was still sleeping, but I was already switching into operation mode. Gabriel, are you sure you want to do this? It's not going to be easy, man. I'm absolutely sure, Mike. I can't let her marry another guy when we love each other. It would be cowardice on my part. Man, his heart was beating so hard I could hear it through the phone. During these 2 weeks since we found out about the arranged marriage, we'd come up with a plan. It wasn't the most orthodox, I admit, but it was what we could do. All right, buddy, give me half an hour to get ready and I'll come pick you up. You remember everything we agreed on? I remember. Mike, man, thanks for going along with this crazy idea. Don't need to thank me, Gabriel. When you truly love someone, you have to fight, and Marina deserves this fight. I hung up and ran to the shower. Linda woke up with the noise and asked what was happening. Honey, remember that couple I told you about? Gabriel and Marina? I remember. What happened? Today is her arranged wedding day, and we're going to stop it. Linda looked at me with that "my husband has completely lost his mind" face, but then smiled. Go for it, honey. Just be careful, okay? I left the house at 9 in the morning, with the Civic washed and the tank full. I'd arranged to pick up Gabriel at 9:30 because the ceremony was at noon at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Midtown. When I got to the East Village, Gabriel was already waiting for me on the sidewalk. And man, I'd never seen the kid so dressed up. Navy blue suit, white shirt, bow tie, polished shoes that gleam, fresh haircut, professional shave. He looked like a movie star. Holy crap, Gabriel! You look like a prince, man! It's because today is the most important day of my life, Mike. If this works out, I'm going to propose to Marina for real. And if it doesn't, he paused. At least I'll know I tried. We got in the car and headed to Midtown. During the trip, we went over the plan one more time. I had managed, through my contacts, yes, rideshare drivers have a better information network than the FBI, to find out all the details of the wedding. The ceremony was going to be at noon sharp. Marina would arrive at 11:45 as tradition dictates. The groom, some guy named Rick, son of a businessman, would already be there waiting since 11:30. The whole family would be present, about 200 people from the New York elite. Our plan was simple but risky. I was going to park next to the cathedral, disguised among the cars from the society press that always cover rich people's wedding. Gabriel was going to enter the church as a guest. After all, he knew some people from, Marina's family through her. When it came time for, if anyone objects to this marriage, he was going to stand up and make the declaration of his life. I know. It sounds like something from an American movie, but you don't know Gabriel. The guy was willing to do anything. We got to Midtown at 11 a.m. The cathedral was already busy, with florists finishing the decoration and the first guests arriving. I parked in a strategic position where I could see the main door of the cathedral and the whole street. Gabriel, last chance to back out. Are you sure you want to do this? He looked at me with those determined eyes I already knew well. Mike, I spent the last 8 months of my life suffering because of this woman. Crying, losing weight, unable to work properly, and all because I let her go without fighting. Today, I'm not going to make the same mistake. What if she says no? What if she chooses the other guy? Then at least I'll know I tried everything. But if I don't try, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. At 11:30, the movement increased. Imported cars arriving, elegant people getting out, photographers positioned. The church was getting full. 11:40, the groom arrived. A tall, blonde guy, typical rich boy type. He got out of a black BMW accompanied by what must have been his family. He entered the church smiling and greeting everyone. 11:44, my heart raced. A white limousine stopped in front of the cathedral. "Gabriel, it's her!" First, Marina's father got out, an elegant gentleman in a gray suit. Then her mother, a blonde lady in a blue dress. And finally, man, when Marina got out of that limousine, I almost cried right there. She was too beautiful. White wedding dress, long veil, bouquet of white roses. But what caught my attention most was her face. It wasn't the face of a happy bride. It was the face of resignation. "She's not happy, Gabriel." "I know, Mike. That's why I have to do this." Marina entered the church accompanied by her father. The music began to play. It was now or never. "Go for it, champ. I'll stay here waiting with the car running." Gabriel got out of the Civic, adjusted his tie, took a deep breath, and walked toward the cathedral. He entered through the side door, the same one the guests had used. The next 20 minutes were the most tense of my life. Me there, alone in the car, imagining what was happening inside. Had Gabriel managed to get in without being noticed? Would the plan work? 12:05. The music stopped playing for a moment, then resumed with a different melody. They must have been doing the vow. 12:10. Total silence. 12:15. Still quiet. 12:20. I started to worry. Had something gone wrong? And then, 12:25, it happened. The main door of the cathedral burst open, and chaos broke out everywhere. First came some guests talking loudly, gesticulating, clearly agitated. Then came more people, and then I saw it. Gabriel came running out of the church, still in his suit, but with his tie undone. And behind him, holding his hand, came Marina. She had taken off her veil, was holding her dress with one hand so she wouldn't trip, and in the other hand, she was holding Gabriel. Man, when I saw that scene, I screamed with joy inside the car. "He did it, kid! He did it!" They ran toward the Civic. I had already started the car and opened the back doors. "Get in! Get in!" I yelled. Both got in the back seat, out of breath, laughing and crying at the same time. "Floor it! Mike! Floor it!" Gabriel yelled. I stepped on the gas and we peeled out from in front of the cathedral. In the rearview mirror, I saw a crowd of people coming out of the church, some trying to run after us. "Gabriel, tell me what happened!" I yelled, still speeding down the street. "Man, it was epic!" he said, unable to stop smiling. "When the priest asked if anyone objected to the marriage, I stood up from the back of the church and yelled, 'I object!' And then all hell broke loose." Everyone turned around to see who the crazy guy was. The groom turned red with rage. Marina's dad almost had a heart attack, and Marina, "And I," she continued, still out of breath. "I looked back, saw you there in your suit, all handsome, declaring your love for me in front of 200 people, and I thought, it's him. It's always been him." "And what did you do, Marina?" I asked, already emotional. "I dropped the bouquet on the floor, took his hand, and said, 'Dad, Mom, I'm sorry, but I love this man, and I'm going with him.' And I ran." "Holy crap!" I yelled. "That's movie stuff!" But the party wasn't over. When I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw we had company. "Hey guys, I don't want to scare you, but we have 3 cars following us." Gabriel and Marina turned to look. "That's my dad," Marina said. "That black Audi is his. And it must be the groom's family in the other cars," Gabriel added. "Mike, can you lose them?" Marina asked, with a mixture of fear and adrenaline in her voice. Man, do you think I was going to let this slide? 25 years driving in New York streets, 5 of them as a rideshare driver. I knew every alley, every shortcut, every traffic light in this city. "Hold on, you're about to see what real New York is like." I turned sharply left, entering Broadway. The cars tried to follow, but I already had the advantage. I accelerated going downtown. "Where are we going?" Gabriel asked. "Trust me," I replied, making a sharp turn onto Houston Street. Traffic was chaos, like always on Saturday afternoon downtown. But that was an advantage for me. My Civic was smaller and more agile than the luxury cars that were following us. I went against traffic on a one-way street for about 50 meters. Traffic cops. Came out on Canal Street, cut through an alley that only someone who knows downtown very well knows exists. And when I came out at City Hall, the cars had disappeared. "We lost them!" Marina yelled, clapping. "Mike, you're a genius," Gabriel said, hugging me from behind. But I wasn't done yet. I had a special place in mind to finish that day. Guys, the escape was just the first part. Now comes the most important part. What do you mean? They both asked together. I took the FDR Drive, passed by the Brooklyn Bridge, entered the financial district. My destination was a place every New Yorker knows, but many people have never been up. One World Trade Center. Mike, are we going to the Trade Center? Marina asked, curious. Not exactly to the Trade Center. We're going somewhere special. I parked on the street, screw the parking meter, and the three of us ran up to the building next to the Trade Center. We took the elevator to the top floor and arrived at what I considered the most beautiful place in New York, the One World Observatory. It was about 3 in the afternoon on a sunny Saturday. Up there, the view was breathtaking. All of New York stretched out at our feet. You could see Central Park, the Statue of Liberty, Brooklyn, Queens, the whole city where their story had taken place. Gabriel, I said, now it's up to you. He understood immediately. He took a small box from his jacket pocket, the same box he'd been carrying for 8 months, waiting for the right opportunity. Marina saw the box and brought her hands to her face. Gabriel, Marina, he said, kneeling right there in the middle of the observatory, with all of New York as witness. A year and a half ago, you came into my life and changed everything. Since then, there hasn't been a single day I haven't thought about you. There hasn't been a single night I haven't dreamed about our future together. Marina started crying. I was getting emotional, too. I know your family doesn't approve of me. I know I'm not the richest or most successful guy in the world, but I love you with all the strength of my heart, and I promise I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make you happy. He opened the box, and man, the ring was beautiful. Simple but beautiful. A white gold band with a small but brilliant diamond. Marina, will you marry me? For real this time? For love, not convenience? Marina was crying so much she couldn't speak. She just nodded yes several times. Yes, she finally managed to say. Yes, yes, yes. Gabriel put the ring on her finger and they kissed there, high above New York, with the afternoon sun illuminating everything. Man, I cried like a baby. There, in that moment, I understood that I wasn't just their driver anymore. I had been part of one of the most beautiful love stories I'd ever witnessed in my life. Mike, Marina said, still hugging Gabriel, how can we thank you? You don't need to thank me for anything. You gave me the greatest gift a guy like me can receive, the chance to help true love win. We stayed there on the observatory until the sun started to set, the two making plans, talking about the future, laughing like I hadn't seen them laugh in a long time. When we came down, it was almost 7 at night. Marina called a friend and said she was going to stay at her place for a few days until the dust settled with her family. Gabriel said he was going to call work on Monday and ask for a few days off. So what now, guys? What are you going to do? I asked, driving through the city that was already lighting up its nighttime lights. Now, Gabriel said, taking Marina's hand, we're going to live our love story away from everyone who doesn't believe in it. And when you guys get married for real, I said, I want to be the first to know. Mike, Marina said, you're not just going to be the first to know, you're going to be there with us. And that's how the craziest and most beautiful day I'd ever lived as a rideshare driver ended. With a couple in love in the back seat, an entire city as scenery, and the certainty that sometimes it's worth risking everything for love. But this story wasn't over yet, because a year later, my phone was going to ring again. And this time, it would be for an invitation I never imagined I'd receive in my life. An invitation to be a best man at a wedding. Folks, if you think the previous chapters were intense, hold tight because now comes the part that still gives me chills when I remember it. The day that changed everything. The day a simple rideshare driver became the protagonist of one of the craziest stories that ever happened on the streets of New York. Wait, let me restart this properly. A year had passed since that crazy day at the cathedral, and life had settled into a new normal. Gabriel and Marina had found their rhythm as a couple. I was back to my regular driving routine, and occasionally we'd all meet up for dinner or drink. They'd become real friends, you know? Not just customers. It was a Tuesday, August 10th, 2021. I remember the exact date because it was one of the most special days of my life. I was having lunch at home. Linda had made this amazing pot roast. When my phone rang, I looked at the screen. Gabriel. We hadn't talked in about 3 months. After that crazy wedding day, they'd kind of disappeared from the map for a while. I respected that, you know? Couples need privacy to build their life together. Hello, Gabriel. What's up, man? How's everything? From the other end of the line, I heard an emotional voice, kind of choked up. Mike, man, I need to see you. Today, if possible. My heart raced. When someone talks in that tone, it's either very good or very bad. What's up, buddy? Did something happen? Is Marina okay? She's fine. She's great. Actually, It's about her that I need to talk to you. Can you pick me up in the East Village at 3? Of course I can. Same place as always? Same place as always. Man, I spent the rest of lunch wondering what it could be. Linda noticed my anxiety. Honey, stop playing with that fork and tell me what's happening. It's Gabriel, Linda. He wants to see me today, said it's about Marina. His voice was all emotional. Ah, it must be good news then. You said they were dating seriously, right? 2:30 in the afternoon, I was already in the car, going to pick up Gabriel. I got to the East Village at 3 sharp, and there he was, in the same place where it all started more than 2 years ago. But now it was a different Gabriel. Fresh salon haircut, new clothes. He'd even gained a little weight, sign of a happy man, right? But what caught my attention most was the smile. A smile of someone who was fulfilled in life. Mike, he yelled, running to the car. He got in the front seat, first time he'd sat next to me, and gave me one of those big hugs. Easy there, champ. What's all this excitement about? Man, I have news for you. Actually, 2 pieces of news. Spill it. You're making me curious. Gabriel took a deep breath, like he'd been preparing for this moment. Mike, Marina and I are getting married. Whoa! I yelled, punching the steering wheel with joy. About, time, kid. Congratulations. When's it going to be? September 18th, 5 weeks from now. Damn, that's soon? Where's it going to be? A big church? Hotel? Country club? Gabriel smiled and shook his head. No, man. We decided to do something simple, you know? Just close family and real friends. It's going to be in a small chapel in Greenwich Village, the little chapel of St. Anthony. Then there'll be lunch at a restaurant nearby. Man, that's great. You guys are going to do it your way, not the way others expect. Exactly. And that brings me to the second piece of news. Gabriel stopped talking and looked me in the eye. Man, the kid was nervous. What's the second piece of news, Gabriel? Mike, Marina, and I talked a lot about this, about who were the people who really mattered in our story, who was on our side when everyone was against us, who believed in our love when we didn't even believe in it ourselves. Man, I was already starting to swallow hard. My heart was beating faster. And we came to the conclusion that there's one person who can't be left out of our wedding, one person who's been part of our story since day one person who became family to us. Gabriel. Mike, man, do you want to be my best man? Guys, I swear to you, when he said that, I completely froze. I sat there staring at him, unable to say anything. Gabriel must have thought I didn't want to, because he started explaining. I know it's kind of unusual, man, a rideshare driver being a best man. But for us, you're not a rideshare driver. You're the guy who introduced us to true love. You're the guy who gave me courage to fight for Marina. You're the guy who planned the most romantic escape in New York history with me. I still couldn't speak. My eyes started filling with tears. Mike, are you okay? If you don't want to, I understand. No! I yelled, finally able to speak. It's not that, Gabriel. I want to, man. Of course I want to. It's just that. I couldn't keep talking. I started crying right there, like a baby. Gabriel hugged me and just let me cry. Man, you have no idea what that means for a guy like me to receive an invitation like that. I'm a rideshare driver, family man, living in Queens. I never imagined that one day I'd be someone's best man, especially a couple I met in the backseat of my car. Gabriel, man, are you sure? Being a best man is serious business. It's responsibility. I'm absolutely sure, Mike. You're going to be there next to me at the altar, witnessing our love like you always have been. We stayed there talking for over an hour. Gabriel told me how their life was going, that they'd rented a small apartment in Greenwich Village, that Marina's family had gradually accepted the relationship, especially after they saw how happy she was with him, that he'd been promoted at work and was doing well, that they had plans to start a business together. What about her family? How did they react when you told them I was going to be the best man? Gabriel laughed. Man, at first they were kind of shocked, but when Marina told them our whole story from the first meeting in Central Park to the day you helped me interrupt the wedding, they understood. Her dad even said, "This Mike is a man of his word. You guys chose well." When he dropped me off at home that day, I walked in like a king. Linda was watching TV in the living room when I arrived. So, what did Gabriel want? Linda, sit down because you're not going to believe this. I told her the whole story. The wedding, the invitation to be best man, everything. When I finished, my wife was crying too. Honey, what a beautiful thing. You deserve this and so much more. But Linda, what if I mess something up? What if I don't know how to behave? There's going to be fancy people at the wedding. Mike, you're going to be yourself. That's why they chose you. Don't change anything, okay? The next 5 weeks flew by. Linda and I bought new clothes. She got a beautiful dress to be a groomsman's wife. I got a suit that looked like it came from a magazine. limousine. The boys, my kids, were going to be there too. Gabriel gave me Marina's contact, and we talked several times about the preparations. She treated me like family, asking for opinions about flowers, music, menu. Mike, do you have any special requests for the ceremony? She asked in one of the calls. I just want you guys to be happy, Marina. Everything else is details. You're so sweet, you know? Gabriel chose the right best man. The big day arrived. September 18th, 2021, Saturday. I woke up at 6 in the morning, more nervous than the groom. Linda had to calm me down. Honey, relax. You already did the hard part, which was helping them get together. Today is just celebrating. 9 in the morning, I was already at Gabriel's place, helping him get ready. The small apartment was chaos, with his mom, his brother, friends, everyone excited. Mike, man, thanks for being here, he told me while I helped adjust his tie. Don't mention it, Gabriel. It's an honor to be here. At 10:30, we left for the salon, where Gabriel was going to finish getting ready. When we got there, I met the other best man, a college friend of his, and Marina's groomsmen. Nice people who received me really well. 11:30, we arrived at the little chapel of St. Anthony. Man, what a beautiful place. A small, old church, all decorated with white and pink flowers. Simple, but elegant. There were about 80 people, family and close friends. When I saw Marina arriving by car, in a white Civic, no limousine this time, my heart almost jumped out of my mouth. She was even more beautiful than at the first wedding. Simple but elegant dress, short veil, small bouquet. And most importantly, she had the face of a happy bride. The ceremony was emotional from beginning to end. The priest, a nice gentleman called Father John, performed a beautiful ceremony, talking about true love, union, companionship. When it came time for the vows, Gabriel looked at Marina and said, Marina, 2.5 years ago, you got into my life in the backseat of an Uber. Since then, every day is a new discovery. You taught me that love has no social class, no barrier, no obstacle that can't be overcome when two people truly love each other. I promise to love and respect you every day of my life. Marina, crying, replied, Gabriel, you taught me to be brave, to fight for what I believe in, to choose love instead of convenience. You and our personal Cupid over there. She looked at me and smiled. Completely changed my life, and I wouldn't trade our story for any other in the world. When the priest said, you may kiss the bride, the whole church exploded in applause and cheers. I cried like a baby. After the ceremony, we all went to the restaurant, a cozy place with good food and family atmosphere. During lunch came the moment I feared most, speech time. The other groomsmen and best men spoke first. Beautiful, emotional speeches, but kind of standard, you know? When my turn came, I stood up with my heart in my hand. I looked at everyone, Marina's family, Gabriel's family, friends, and took a deep breath. Folks, I'm going to be honest with you. I never imagined that one day I'd be here, giving a speech as a best man. I'm a simple guy, rideshare driver, family man. My life has always been busy, without much time for big emotions. I paused, looked at Gabriel and Marina, until one day, 2.5 years ago, a nervous young man got in my car asking to get to Central Park in 20 minutes. He said he was going to meet a girl for the first time. I looked at the traffic and thought, this guy is dreaming, but I decided to help the kid out. Laughter in the audience. I continued. Since that day, I've had the privilege of following the most beautiful love story I've ever seen in my life. I saw them meet, fall in love, fight, make up. I saw them face prejudice, family pressure, financial difficulties, and I also saw that when love is true, it always finds a way to win. My voice started to crack. Gabriel and Marina, you taught me that it doesn't matter where you come from, how much money you have, or what your social class is. What matters is the greatness of your heart. You showed me that sometimes a simple driver can make a difference in people's lives. I stopped, took a deep breath. You don't know this, but following your story also changed my life. It made me believe more in love, made me value my family more, made me see that every ride I take can be the beginning of something special. I looked at Linda, who was crying at the table. So I want to make a toast to Gabriel and Marina, who taught me that true love still exists, and that sometimes it comes in the backseat of an old Civic in the middle of New York traffic. Everyone stood up, toasted, applauded. Gabriel and Marina came to hug me, crying. Mike, Marina whispered in my ear, thank you for believing in our love from day one. Man, Gabriel said, you're the most special best man in the world. The party continued until evening. We danced, talked, laughed. I felt like part of their family for real. When it was ending, Gabriel called me aside. Mike, I have one more surprise for you. What surprise, man? You already gave me the biggest surprise of my life by asking me to be your best man. He took an envelope from his pocket. This is a small token of our, gratitude. 2022. I opened the envelope. It was a vacation package for me and Linda to spend a week at the beach. Gabriel, man, you didn't need to. I did. You were fundamental in our story. This is our way of saying thank you. We left the party at 11 at night. In the car, going home, Linda and I talked about how special that day had been. Honey, do you realize what happened today? She asked. What do you mean? You were best man at a wedding for a couple you met at your job. That's not normal, Mike. That's special. She was right. In the years that followed, this story spread among other drivers. I became kind of a legend in the industry, the driver who became a best man. Even today, when I meet work colleagues, they ask me about Gabriel and Marina. And them? They continued being my friend, not customers, real friend. When my oldest son graduated high school, they were there at graduation. When Linda had gallbladder surgery, Marina went to the hospital every day to see how she was doing. In 2022, when their first child was born, a beautiful boy named Michael, I was chosen to be the godfather. In 2023, when I decided to buy a new car and start my own transportation company, Gabriel lent me part of the money. Today, 5 years after that first meeting, I have 3 cars, 2 employees, and a small but prosperous business. Linda went back to work, the boys are in college, and our life has improved a lot. But if you ask me what was the most important ride of my life, I'll answer without hesitation. That Friday in March 2019, when a nervous young man got in my car asking to get to Central Park in 20 minutes, because that was the day I learned that being a rideshare driver isn't just taking people from one place to another. Sometimes we carry dreams, hopes, love stories. Sometimes we become part of something bigger than ourselves. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we might even become a best man. Gabriel and Marina today have 2 children, Michael and Sophia. They live in their own house in Greenwich Village, have a financial consulting business that's doing very well. And they're still my friend. Me? I became a small celebrity in the rideshare driver world. I've given podcast interviews, told my story at transportation company events. Even a guy from a production company approached me to make a movie of the story, but I didn't think it would work out. Linda always jokes with me, honey, you became a professional Cupid, and it's true. After Gabriel and Marina's story, I've already helped 3 more couples get together. There are even people who call me specifically to get love advice in traffic. But the most important thing is that this story taught me that life can surprise us when we least expect it, that a simple job can turn into a lifelong friendship, and that true love always finds a way to win. That's why every time a passenger gets in my car nervous, talking about first dates or relationship problems, I remember Gabriel and Marina's story, and I think, who knows if I'm not being part of a new love story? Because in the end, folks, life is made of encounters, and sometimes the most important encounters of our lives happen in the backseat of a Civic in the middle of crazy New York traffic. This was the story of the driver who became a best man. Thank you for following me this far. And if you meet a rideshare driver out there, treat them well. You never know when you might be meeting the Cupid of the next love story of your lives. Take care, folks, and may God bless all the true loves in this crazy world. Author's note, this story is based on real events that happened in New York City. Names and some details have been changed to protect the privacy of those involved. Mike continues to drive for his own transportation company and occasionally still gets calls from couples asking for relationship advice during traffic. Gabriel and Marina's consulting firm is thriving, and they remain close friends with Mike and Linda. Their third child, a daughter named Linda, in honor of Mike's wife, was born in 2024. The little chapel of St. Anthony in Greenwich Village still hosts intimate wedding, and rumor has it that several couples have specifically requested Mike as their wedding day driver, hoping some of his Cupid magic will rub off on their special day. As Mike always says, love finds a way, and sometimes that way has 4 wheels and a GPS.